Welcome to Comics League Indie Wednesdays. That's right. I've decided that Wednesdays we will publish discussions on indie comics. Now, by indie comics, I mean non-Marvel and non-DC, which means that it can be Dark Horse, it can be Image, it could be Valiant, it could be Boom Studios, it could even be just independent publishing and Indiegogo publishing. So for the foreseeable future, Wednesdays are going to be like non-super. It's going to be superheroes, if I can find them, but non-DC and non-Marvel content. That way we can get a little more variety in terms of characters, storylines, and such. And on that note, this coming Under Two Capes episode, I'm going to have Max and from MVP, Max MVP Priestley, and Dawson from the Four Nerds back on the show to talk about our favorite indie books. So we're going to go through a little bit of an indie phase nowadays, right now, because Marvel and DC are dropping the ball in terms of entertainment. So let's look at other stuff. So for right now, for this episode, I figured I would give a little review of the CyberFrog Blood Honey Box that I backed from Ethan Van Sciver. Those of you that know me, I did the stream with Nick from the Phoenix Press, and we talked about our favorite creatives, and I listed Ethan Van Sciver as one of my favorite artists. He's like in my holy trinity of artists. It's him, Faye Bach, and Jim Lee. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, first off, it seemed like a really cool collectible, which it definitely is. It's fantastic art by EVS. And it's something new, at least for me, because I have going into this, I had like no idea about this IP, like no like understanding as to the history behind this IP and everything. So it's a magnet closure box, and then inside there are all the comics. I basically got the stuff box, which basically means you get everything associated with this campaign. So we're gonna check out the box. So first, got a pack of CyberFrog trading cards, which I'm going to open up right now. We're going to take a look at those. Give you a little ASMR right there. Okay, so we've got the card for Dystopia. I'll hold that up to the camera. Pretty cool. We've got Dementipede. That's what I like about EVS. He combines like bugs and like bad guys. Then we have the ship Gel Sin that brought CyberFrog and Salamandroid to Earth. Then we have the special 2021 holiday card, which has badass Santa Claus and CyberFrog. Then we have Lily Owen right there. We also have Tremadius, just playing playing piano, and this is all like art from the book. Then there is Earwig right there. So that's the first thing it came with, little awesome trading cards. Next we have Blood Honey Drained, and what this is, so there were 3 variant covers, which I got all 3 because why not? And what's cool about these is, I'm going to use this one as an example. They have special covers. What I mean by that is if we open it, see, got this, then we open up its little special acetate covers. And then the reason why this is called Drained is because it's a very special edition part of the book, where it has none of the colors or the lettering. It's purely just the line work and a little bit of inks, and it's really, really cool. Once you read the book, you can actually more or less like understand what's going on in the storyline if you just look at this. So if you want an exercise in like interpreting pictures, it's a good idea. And plus, it's a really cool collectible. By all these books, all the variants are signed by EVS, so that's great. You also have the art of John Malin, which is pretty much every piece of CyberFrog art done by CG artist John Malin. I'm going to pull that out. So we got that. Then I'll hold up a couple of things. I may have to get an actual comic cam like Max has. He's forcing me to upgrade my my setup. And Max, if you're watching this, flex much. So we've got, yeah, lots of, it's a really cool like thing. I'm glad I was able to get involved with this. Then you also have the Shane Davis variant cover, which I got because Shane is like one of my favorite artists. As you guys know, I have his Superman Earth 1. And then we actually have these special edition, like these very special covers. One that's all white and one that's all silver. What this is the actual comic that has all of the letters. I don't know why I'm stuttering right now. And all the colors, and it's basically the entire comic book. What I like about EVS's art, I'm just going to say that right now, is it's super detailed, like ridiculously detailed. I mean that in the best possible way, because it's like, even with Green Lantern art, when he's doing the Green Lantern art, in the beginning of, I think it was Green Lantern Rebirth, it was the last battle when they're fighting Parallax, the 5 Green Lanterns. He draws each of their constructs like differently. Like John is more like precise because he's an architect. Kilowog is more of a cannon, and Kyle is more like an artist. So it's really cool how he put all these. He's a very detail oriented artist, and I really appreciate that, because each image is like, whoa. And the art and the colors by Kyle Ritter are like really, really nuts. So there's that. And this is the exact same comic, but with a silvery cover. So I'm just not gonna go with that. And then we have the actual box. The campaign itself was for the box and like the book, but you could also like get the stuff box that had like everything here also in this. So I wanted to get both because I wanted to support my favorite artists. So we have the Blood Honey box all the way around. It's got like fantastic fantastic art. It's a fantastic collectible. I may put this on a shelf behind me and open it, but here's that. It's really hard being on a mirrored surface, so bear with me. And yeah, it's a really great book. I'll talk more about it on the Under Two Capes episode I'm going to do this weekend with Max and Dawson and Ladd. So it's gonna be 4 people on the show. That's the most guests I think I've ever had on an Under Two Capes episode. I think previously I've only had 3. But anyway, that's the CyberFrog Blood Honey box and the Blood Honey like book in general. I'm gonna do an actual like plot review later, or I could just do it right now. That's just you know what? I'll do it right now. You know what? Might as well, because this is Indie Wednesday. So you know what? Might as well. Now the way I'm gonna do this, since I don't have it on digital yet, I'm going to essentially like flip through the book and then talk about it and stuff. And then if there's a really cool visual, I'll hold it up to the camera. So let me open up one of the colored and worded books. Okay, so the book opens up. We see the sun and the earth, and we see a ship flying through space. And the ship lands in the middle of the swamp. And what the ship is essentially sentient, right there. And what it essentially says is it was sent here because there's an imminent invasion by a race of aliens called the Vespas, kind of like that. They're essentially giant murder hornets. So it crashes and it's trying to like combine DNA with cybernetics to create like the super warrior. It's supposed to, what I love about this is that he apparently says that I wanted to combine with a Boy Scout, but it wasn't there. So the first available life form was a frog. So it created CyberFrog, which is this being right here. And then it can make it speak English too. Then you have a salamander, and that becomes CyberFrog's teammate / brother named Salamandroid. And then a CyberFrog, through syncing up with the ship, can essentially turn into this dope iron frog. Yes, I'm calling it that. EVS, you can have that though. You can have that name, Iron Frog. He's got like flamethrowers and stuff. So the ship essentially says, you're going to be here to protect humanity. And he says, Salamandroid, you're going to help him. And that's Salamandroid right here, or Sal for short. Then they fly off. And then we have more of like, so essentially what the beginning of this book is, what part one is, and this is why this was fantastic on EVS's part, he summarized, because CyberFrog is a character that he had like, that he was working on before he went to DC in the 90s. So what he's essentially doing is, if you have no exposure to CyberFrog, in other words, if you don't know what the character is, then guess what? Here's the summary of it so you can be like moderately prepared. And if you want to get the other books, you can. Love that so much, because man, I was a little nervous when I picked up this comic book to read for the first time, because I was like, am I going to understand what's going on? But pretty much because this book, this is the return of CyberFrog. In other words, this is like he's doing the series right now, and this is the return of the character. It's kind of like how DC had a crisis. It's kind of like here's the way it's kind of like, in a way. It's kind of like when Superman died in the 90s, and then they left Superman out of the comics for like a year or so. Except in this, it was from the 90s to like 2018 or so. So that's what this is. So CyberFrog is talking about how he's constantly being rejected by humanity because he doesn't look human. So he's not like Superman where he looks like you and me. So then so he's getting kind of lonely. He doesn't have friends. That's when he meets Heather Swain. And Heather is this, I love the way EVS draws women. So Heather is this girl that's from like an abusive household. She's saved by CyberFrog, and Frog basically tells her, I'll protect you. I'm going to be here. I'll never leave you. So they become close friends. She even gets a tattoo of him on her back right there. And then it skips to the future. I mean, it skips to, there's a time jump. So we're assuming that like more CyberFrog stuff happened. And then we get to part 2 of the book. And we have the Vespa's like spore pod things coming into Earth. I'm trying to get a good image of it. There you go. They're about to land, and then we see like this couple is hiking, and then the ship just rises up out of the water. It goes alert, alert, alert. They're here, and CyberFrog is going back to his little apartment that he lives right there. It's kind of a tenant like crap home. Then Heather is watching Bill Clinton take responsibility for the Monica Lewinsky thing. That's kind of interesting, kind of an alternate history on that. And then CyberFrog is eating chicken, and then the Salamandroid shows up by butting his head through a wall and going, hey, listen, one of our like enemies is like messing up a bridge. You want to go fight him? And CyberFrog's like, okay. And then Froggy goes, okay. He puts a tracking bead on Heather and goes, okay, if it takes me a while to get back, I know where you are. I can find you. So then Froggy and Sal just fall out. Then the Vespas deploy their drones, and then they actually start like eating people, and I found that to be pretty cool. A little gruesome, but very cool. Once again, EVS's art is top notch, and Kyle Ryder's colors really make the book pop. The ship comes out and goes full battle mode, and then starts attacking. Then we have Salamandroid and CyberFrog fighting Rumblebee, who's essentially that creature right there. Then they have a cool battle, and then the Vespas invade. It's like they defeat Rumblebee, and then the Vespas invade. They quickly, the ship is disabled, and so CyberFrog can't like iron out. They become the Iron Frog essentially. And so Salamandroid is like taken out by the Vespas. I don't think he's dead, but we'll see what happens in Wreck Planet. That's book 2. This is only book 1. And so CyberFrog attempts to stop two trucks from crashing into each other because the Vespas are attacking it. There's an explosion, and he falls into the ocean. Then when he falls into the ocean, what's kind of cool is that he's surrounded by these frog egg things, and they sort of form a cocoon that essentially self-repairs. Now we're up to part 3. He emerges from his cocoon, and the world has been taken over by Vespas like that. And he emerges, and this is like, it's kind of like The Walking Dead, where Rick wakes up in the midst of the apocalypse and he doesn't know what's going on. Because as far as CyberFrog knows, he's been like, when Stephen just woke up, it's been like 5 minutes. Then we have this girl wearing red, and it's revealed that there are a couple of rules in this apocalypse. Number 1, don't leave the woods, because they can't fly well in the woods. Sorry, I don't know why I'm coughing so much. And also wear red, because the Vespas can't see red. There are more rules, but that'll be at the end of the book. And CyberFrog shows up, because remember, he had that, sorry, I have the hiccups. He had that microbead. Essentially allowed him to track Heather. And then they have a reunion. And then we have the Vespa, then we have a book that goes throughout, it goes to the past and then catches up, basically talking about how the Vespas were trying to find Earth. And then our rock concerts brought them here. Let me get this really dope image of like space and all the pods coming in. And then there's Salamandroid fighting Shock Roach. And then CyberFrog is fighting the Organ Dude, who is Traumateus. He's that dude. I think it's pretty cool. And then we get the invasion from Heather's perspective. So she's just watching TV. The TV goes off, and then the alien invasion happens. She escapes. She gets into a cop car. Little does she knows that the cop is being eaten alive. So she escapes in the woods. She meets Colin, and Colin takes her to where he's buried a bus. It's essentially like a bunker. And then she gets down, and then essentially it skips 20 years, and then CyberFrog shows up. So essentially, he gets knocked out. 20 years go by, and then he wakes up. So that's essentially CyberFrog Blood Honey. That's the first book. I look forward to backing Wreck Planet. So that's where I'm going to leave it. So essentially, every week is going to be in a non-DC and non-Marvel comic review. And I got a whole shelf of stuff to go through. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to have a lot of like varying stories, and it's going to be really cool to like break up the superhero pattern that we've established for so long. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week. Stay heroic, everyone. Bye-bye.